welcome back to EVE Online with me, Mark from DadX, and we're going straight back into the wormhole with Red Willow Charante to see what's going on in there today. We've got lots to cover. Sorry, there's been a little bit of break in the production of the videos. I've been very busy the last few weeks sorting out some real life stuff, and I haven't been at home. And when I have been at home, I haven't been able to do any playing or recording, but there you go, such is life. All I can say is the worst thing about getting old is how damn old the grown-ups get while you're doing it. Anyway, we've got quite a lot of anomalies in here. I was thinking if there were some suitable sites of seeing where the links were wormhole-wise and maybe bringing somebody else in to clear some sites, kind of double up the role of this particular role, not just as a hacker but also as a scout. But we'll see about that. But anyway, we're back in the wormhole. It's very quiet. I did log in here briefly a couple of nights ago and there were a couple of guys in here scanning, so I just logged back out. There's no need for me to be competitive. I just logged in someone else and went and made some ISK and had some fun elsewhere, which is one of the great things about having some alts. Anyway, I'm going to spare you all the details of the scanning. You've seen plenty of this lately, so I'm just going to skip ahead to when I've scanned everything down and I start getting busy. Okay, so the scanning's about done. Very quiet in here, seen nobody else. If you actually look towards the bottom of the list of signatures, you'll see one of them's about to despawn. One of the wormholes is collapsing right as we speak. So I'm glad I didn't go out through that one. Always check the age of a wormhole or its life left before you go through it. There's a pro tip for you. I'm actually sat up on the site. I'm just plodding through getting the rest of the scanning done. Actually, I'm in no rush. There's only one hackable data site for me here right now. I have been out to check where the wormholes that are here are going. Out of the 5 that I scanned, although one despawned, there were 3 into C1 to 3 wormholes. There's 1 to high sec and there's 1 to low sec, so we'll go and have a look. So I'm just going to speed up the little hacks just so you can see how I do loot wise today. I have bookmarked every signature I scanned simply so I've got them and I don't rescan them again tomorrow. So first loot box, I'd already scanned it, but 450k ish, but it all helps. Data sites, I don't know, we'll see. They definitely seem to be a little bit poorer than the relic sites. Well, they seem to be quite a bit poorer than the relic sites, though we did get that reasonably good one on the last episode. From the lack of sites in here, I'm assuming that maybe someone else has been through quite recently. So second box, nothing too tricky there. That's 1.8 million, taking us up to about 165 million in total, but we'll have a proper look at that when we're done with the site. I have noticed it did catch me out. Obviously the estimated market value of what you've got in your hold does vary as the market prices fluctuate. Also, I'm in a wormhole, so quite where it's getting the market information from, I've no idea. 760 grand out of that one. Not fantastic in the bigger scheme of things, but do remember that's like 75% of the cost of the ship. Not including the probes. But actually in the next episode I'm going to use just the basic probes, just to show that you don't really need the sisters ones all the time, or we might find out that I find something I can't scan, but I doubt it very much. And through my scanning experience with the alphas, if you can't scan it, you can't probably do it. So it's not really a big loss for you as a solo player. 380 grand from box number 4. And this particular session is being so stress-free, nobody else in local, just little old me. It's quite a calm little task here. And I haven't blown up any boxes at all so far, which is kind of nice. This particular hack's a bit of a long one. You just have to pick my way around. Again, the rule of 6, I do understand how the rule of 6 works. I just find that it takes longer for me to apply the rule of 6 to a grid than it does simply to follow the numbers. 4 million in that box, that's more than the rest of the site's been worth so far. Let's see what number 5 has in store for us. Have we left the best till last? You never know, although of course I pre-scan all these boxes. So you'll see what's in this last one and you'll see how odd it can be sometimes. But this box that we now know is 6 grand's worth of loot is protected by the hack that I fail. It's got the red lock nodes, and that obviously indicates it's a higher level hack. And as I've said before, I mean, I'm just theorising, but I think it just randomly rolls the actual grids and the loot for the level of the site. So there you go, we've got 6,000 out of that box. It took me 2 goes to get that one. In total we got about 8 million off that site, which is not at all fantastic, but then again, it's 8 million ISK, and it hasn't been any hassle. Been quite a passive experience, actually. No one else in local. Got a little wormhole to myself. Mustn't get complacent, though. It's quite a nice site, this one. It's a command centre. I don't see this one too often. I wonder why something so intact is so abandoned. But then again, you know, who knows what's been going on in these wormholes over the millennia. But this one certainly looks like, especially when we get up above that big dome, that it was very heavily populated at some stage. And that big black cloud, look at that in the background, that looked pretty murky. Where's the wormhole? Wormhole's hiding behind the site. And yeah, look in there. That looks like a full-on kind of city plan to me. So one day we'll find out what happened in these wormholes, won't we? Anyway, so what are we going to do? All I've done, I've scanned down all this thing. It actually took about 30 minutes to do the scanning. Not very long to do that one hack through the site. We got 8 million. So we did scan down those two gas sites. One is Vast and one is Bountiful. And I know they have been adjusted as part of the resources update. So why don't we just pop out of the wormholes to the low sec and the high sec links and see where they are. If they're not too far away from some more of our friendly alts, we may well come in and suck some of that gas. On the loot front here, we're up to about 165 million on the hacking loot, and the venture's about a quarter full. So we'll carry on. I think I may well move on Wormhole. This one doesn't seem too fruitful, to be honest with you. I've certainly been in better wormholes, but we'll play that by ear. And we're just going to go out now. This is the low sec wormhole link that I bookmarked. We're going to pop through it, see where it is. Up in the top left corner, that search bar up there is one of the most useful tools in the game. And I didn't realise for a long time, and I mean years, that you didn't just use that to search for destinations. You can search for anything in the game up there very quickly. So we're about 14 jumps from Sail-In. Well, we are 14 jumps from Sail-In. I also know that the route to Sail-In, which is just my reference point, I'm not necessarily alt that I'm bringing, isn't necessarily there. I know that that low sec system is behind some low sec that I'm very familiar with. So that's not too daunting a prospect to bring a venture up through there. I think it'll be a few jumps through low sec, but we're used to that. So I'm just going to check where that high sec wormhole's going. It might be more convenient, although I don't really like using high sec wormholes. It's so much more likely that on the way back someone is camping at Cyst. Sounds like a lovely place to live. So that's an alternative route. We're over in Minmatar space, I think. I'm not familiar with this particular system. What we'll do, we'll write down, take a note. I'm using the shared folder of bookmarks. So when I bookmark these wormholes as wormhole home, which is just my reference for this one, that will then, when the other alt comes into this system, they can just, you know, right click on the screen and the bookmark's right there for them. And the other thing is, of course, that you do need to check the age of the wormholes or how much life they've got left, just to make sure it isn't going to collapse like that one did when we were scanning. It would just be a waste of time to get a venture all the way over here and then find the wormhole's already gone down, so just make sure there's a bit of life left in it. So we've got options. We'll go, and I think ThinTrash is probably the closest, and he definitely has a gas harvesting venture stuck in a hangar somewhere. I might have to check a couple to find it. But we'll be right back with the dude. So we are in the venture, we are on our way. As you can see, the route round to Cyst is all high sec. It's not too far, I mean it's only a few clicks, a little bit of time. But the alternative is to go round through this way. That is going to take us through some low sec, although at the moment that is plotting me on a course I would never take, because that first jump into low sec there is into Old Man Star. And that gate is probably one of the most dangerous that I know of, certainly locally to where I fly. I know that I can actually go another way, and it's a slight, I think it might be 1 or 2 extra jumps, but it's going to avoid that. And the destination and the route will change if you watch. As I go, once I turn off the route it's trying to put me on, it will flick me onto the route that I intend to take. So do be careful. I mean, yeah, I don't mind going into low sec, but flying a venture into Old Man Star and then a few low sec systems beyond is not a route I would advise to anybody. So I'm not going high sec. I am going to go low sec, but I'm not going to go suicide low sec because that would just be silly. And here's the fit I'm using. This is the one that I'd used in a video ages ago. Do you remember when I jumped into a wormhole and hacked a relic site with it just to see if I could? I've put a warp core stabilizer on there because you don't need any range for sucking gas. You've got to be up close to actually harvest it anyway. So that means that somebody's going to have to get 4 points of warp disruption on me. Could be 2 scramblers or 4 disruptors or any combination of those to actually stop me warping away. And that is very unlikely. And as I know, now that that route is switched, how many videos have I made flying through Assiette, Goinard, etc. It's one of my low sec hangouts. So I was actually in there earlier today, so I know there's nothing crazy going on. Very rarely camp the gate up there, the guys, unless they are really bored or there's people they actually want to catch going through the gate camp. So I'm pretty sure we will get through there pretty quickly, and I shall come back to you when we have got to the system with the wormhole in. Now here we are. We've jumped into a station in the system that's got the wormhole in it. I've checked the bookmark is there for us to use. I'm just checking out who else is in local. One guy's docked with me. There's a couple of guys maybe docked, might be out in space. It's always handy to know who's around, and as I say, this is kind of in my little area of operation anyway, and I'm nosy, and all intel is good. My main concern is kind of not to be observed going into the wormhole in my venture, because that might tempt somebody to then just sit outside it and wait till I come back out. I don't think it's really that much of an issue here, but it's just something to bear in mind that if people see you doing stuff, they might very well react to what they think you're doing. Could come in after you, could just sit outside and wait for you to come back out. So the more stealthy you can be in your moving around, the better. I'm going to give this venture a little bit of a clean, which you do down here on the skins screen with that clean ship button. There you go, all bright and shiny. I got a comment once in, I think it was the barge guide video, about how the colour tone on the video, and it was just the fact that the barges were all filthy. They were a weird kind of murky brown colour rather than yellow. But there you go. So we're going to get off into that wormhole and we're going to get to sucking some gas. As I say, the fit is basically an absolute bog standard, can't really go wrong fit. We've got an invulnerability field. It's not called an invulnerability field anymore, is it? We've got a medium shield extender. We've got the micro warp drive, which isn't really too relevant to go into suck gas, to be honest with you. We've got the probe launcher. It's got sisters probes in it, but really for scanning down wormholes and gas sites when this venture is out roaming, you don't really need sisters probes to do that. So that's something you can just scale back and save a little bit of the cost. And of course the 2 gas harvesters, which the venture is very bonused for. And remember, with that gas harvesting skill, level 2 is all you need, because level 2 means you can fit 2, which is all that can go on a venture. So there's no point in training that skill up any higher than that unless you're going to use some weird kind of non-mining ship and stuff a load of gas harvesters on it, like we used to do in the olden days with ospreys and battleships to mine, back before the days of the venture even existing, to be honest with you. So I'm just checking through here. I think we're going to go to the vast one first. As you saw, I have had a little look just to see the relative values of the gases. And we've got C28 and C32 we're going to find in that site. And they both seem to be an equivalent, similar kind of value. I'm not sure how up to date those prices are on there, but at least I know that there shouldn't be too much of a difference in the price. And on the Eve Uni page, when it says the value is high or low, that's factoring in the amounts. And you can actually see here, there's one little cloud down there, and there's one very, very big cloud. So I've obviously got, I can only carry 5,000 cubic meters of stuff anyway in my oil hold, but much more relevant is the fact that the rats are going to spawn on this site. Now they usually spawn either bang on 15 minutes or bang on 20 minutes. And something I'm trying to figure out is whether that relates at all to the actual type of site that you've gone to, or whether that's just a random roll. But all you need to do now, again, the system is empty. There's just me here and the ghost of Red Willow Charante logged off. In theory, when I go back to, I'll be using the same safe spot if I need to, because it's the same bookmark. I'll have two alts in the same exact point in space at the same time. You just get into range, just stop once you settle down. These clouds are a little bit weird. If you try to orbit them, sometimes it suddenly swings you out to quite a long range. And you don't need to be far away at all for the end of your cycle. In fact, I missed it. There you go. Wasn't helped by the fact I was still going a little bit fast because I had burnt in with a micro warp drive. But the first couple of cycles, I've actually swung back out of range to pick up the gas. So I guess all I've wasted is time. And time doesn't really seem to be too much of an issue. So I am now, once I get into a comfortable position, just going to go stationary and just start sucking the gas. You can orbit it at 500 meters if you like, but I still find, in fact I think it's going to happen about now, that I still drift out of the range that I need to be in. And I'm not quite sure why, so gas cloud, just stop. Quick price check, make sure I'm not getting it all wrong. There you go. Those amounts on there, they should have been adjusted because these gas sites should be spawning less regularly but have more in them. That's not going to be much. There you go, I missed that picking up that one, because even though I'm not burning and I'm supposed to be doing a 500 meter orbit, I've managed to swing out of the range. So just stop your venture. There's no point in being mobile, to be honest. You just need to be ready for the rats to spawn, and you need to keep busy on your D-scan to make sure no one's looking for you or coming for you. So I'm going to sit here and I'll get back to you when I think the rats are about to spawn. Nothing happened at 15 minutes, so here we are at about 20 minutes and I'm ready to go. I'm basically just descanning to make sure there's no players around. I've zoomed out my view, partly because the cloud is blinding, partly because I like the throbby wormhole, and also just failing anything else. If you haven't happened to got the right stuff set up on your overview, you will see the triangles or whatever they are come onto the grid visually. I have double checked to make sure that on all of my overview tabs I've got all of the NPCs and all of the ships selected. But just failing that, just for yourselves, if you want to be double careful, if you zoomed out like this, you will physically see the rats warping into the site. You just hit warp away. I'm going to go to the epicenter as my warp off for this site. You need to be a little bit careful about doing that because there's often rats there. So we're going, look, so there's the rats, we just hit warp and we're gone. So what we got there, 4 cruisers have come in. You don't want to hang around. They can target you. There's also that targeting range bonus in this wormhole of 44%, remember. These guys will pew me from afar and pew me very quickly. Omni tank, omni damage, not to be messed with. And here is the epicenter, this horrible glowing ball. But as you can see, there's some rats not too far away from here. So I'm just going to move on very quickly to another bookmark and get out the way and get off the rats grid. And then we'll head over to the Bountiful site and we'll see what gas we can get over there. Whilst I was actually sucking that gas, a new signature popped up. I did check, it's always worth checking. I scanned it down with the Venture. It's a relic site. So I'm heading back to the safe point now. I'm going to do a little experiment. I brought a bit of random ore with me in the cargo hold. I'm going to drop one out, jettison it, and just check how easy it is just to transfer. I want to make sure there's no issues with security status or anything like that. So I'm just going to drop, when I remember how to do it. I told you I haven't been playing much. I'm going to drop one of those out into a cargo container, log out ThinTrash, log back in Red Willow Charante, see if she can just grab whatever I've dropped her off in the box without any issues, and then let her go and hack that relic site. Potentially that's a lot of ISK, and I think it makes sense to prioritise running over and hacking that in this situation rather than going and sucking more gas. I can obviously only do one or the other, and these two alts are on the same account. These two alphas are on well, you saw that from the login. So and you can't have two alphas logged in at once. In fact, you can't have an alpha logged in with an omega at the same time from the same machine. So a quick switch over and we'll be right back. By leaving your D-scan window open when you log out, you instantly D-scan when you log in. And I left it about 10 minutes. I went and made a cup of coffee before I logged Red Willow back in. And suddenly some ECM drones, but no ships, are on my D-scan. So I wonder what happened there. I would assume that either somebody's been aggressed and dropped those to get away, but there's no... I don't know, it's a little bit odd. I know some people put out ECM drones whilst they're on a site hacking. Not something I would do, because I don't want anyone that's coming for me to know what I've got in my little bag of tricks. The fact you've got ECM drones out doesn't mean I'm not going to come and try to kill you if I'm in the mood to do so. It just means I'm going to attack you in a slightly different way, and I know that you've got ECM drones before I start. So there you go. I can grab the stuff out the box. Don't go suspect. Nothing naughty happens. So I'm just going to run over to the relic site and get to hacking. So here we are. It's a monument site, one of the most common, with a nice big statue out there in the middle, just over 380 grand in this one. So let's see how we get on, shall we? And what I'm doing here, because there's a few boxes within range, I'm scanning them down just to see if one's got, you know, particularly high value. There you go, that's almost bang on 7 million. So those ECM drones, they're just like, they've got my spidey senses tingling. Something's gone on here. There could still be somebody in here cloaked. They would have to scan me down presumably to find me. This is quite a newly spawned site, so they're not likely to have it bookmarked from earlier. But yeah, so let's go for the rich box first, because we deserve it, don't we? Anyway, I'm going to speed things up now. It is worth noting, of course, that this one box on the relic site is worth as much as that whole data site was worth. All we've got to do is get it. There you go, easy peasy, no stress. So that's kind of doubled our hacking income for the day right there. So I'm beginning to think my prejudices are probably based on reality, to be fair, and I really don't quite get why. It's no harder to hack a relic site than it is a data site, so why is the loot overall, with exceptions, so much poorer? Anyway, the next two boxes are a bit of a lower value, but we've got the big one, we know that. So even if someone was to come and disturb us and we need to do a runner, 240 grand there, not amazing, but we'll have it. We know we've got the big bag of loot already. But there's nothing going on. I've been really shocked. I keep saying it, but yeah, this is probably one of the least trafficked wormholes. Especially it's got a high sec connection. It's got a low sec connection. Low sec maybe won't get that heavily trafficked. In fact, I know they won't, which is why I use them rather than high sec ones. But a high sec wormhole, you usually get a few people plodding in and out. Now, they may have already hacked some of the sites, but I'm surprised I've not seen anyone else in here actually sort of active on my D-scan. Signs of life in the form of those drones, but no actual stress caused by having to account for there being somebody else there. But never get too complacent, of course. There could be somebody cloaked. I just think that because this is a newly spawned site, I'd see them come in from a mile off. Second attempt on this hack. Was it worth all the stress and the bother? I know how much is in it. I'm not showing you the pre-scan in this one, am I? There you go, we've taken him down. 2.3 million, so another nice little juicy box there. The hack's just not providing me with too much of a challenge. We keep getting spanners nice and early, which is good. So certainly as an alpha, if you get a spanner early, apply it, but don't then apply the second one too quickly, because you're wasting the effect. That box was 64,000 ISK. But if that's the poorest box we get, I'll be more than happy with that. So how are you guys getting on? Have any of you been out trying this? And how are you getting on with it? Somebody asked about, pointed out that in theory none of the loot I am hacking here exists until I get it somewhere I can sell, which is absolutely right. I agree with you 100%. Last box of the 5. Yeah, don't count your chickens till they're laid. Don't get too complacent. I'm not too fearful about getting out. I'll just find a high sec wormhole out and I'll go out through it. It's not going to be camped on the other side. So, last hack, in we go. It's not protecting much. I've already scanned it. It's only 380 grand. But again, even though I'm getting some decent kind of drops in my side, it's quite hard work, this hack. We've got the Eve Scout box hanging around in this system, so well done for those guys for making sure even this not very highly trafficked shattered wormhole has their emergency box. So there you go, I failed the first hack again. Not particularly high level loot, but we'll figure it out. Very rare that I miss 2 hacks, and I'm not saying that as a brag, I'm saying that because it's not really that difficult, to be quite honest with you. Don't click nodes you don't need to click, like those 2 up there. No need to click them, they're not in the way. They're probably more likely to drop something bad than they are to drop something good. So there you go. We got the last 380 grand. So we've got just over 10 million off the relic site. We've got about 7.5 million off the data site. So 17.5 million total for the hacking for today. I think that's enough. We'll zoom back to our safe. We'll log out Red Willow Charante. And we shall be back in the venture. Here we are. We're just started to warp into the bountiful Frontier Reservoir. On the first site, we made a grand total of 6 million ISK, and it was done very passively. You just got to watch the clock. I think I got a little bit distracted by Netflix at times there, but as long as you keep up a constant or reasonably constant D-scan, and you just watch the clock from 14 minutes onwards in case anything happens at 15 minutes, and from 19 minutes onwards in case anything happens at 20 minutes with regards to the rats turning up, then to be honest with you, this is quite a passive way of making money. And I've had a couple of friends up here with me, and we were sucking on the same clouds. We could empty the clouds, make a lot of money in a little bit of a group. I have checked, those prices are a little bit optimistic, but not too much so. We'll do some calculations at the end when we see how much gas we actually get and use a more realistic market price to see what the value of it might be. Yeah, again, we're just settling in, getting in close. We're just going to park. I learnt from the last site not to bother even trying an orbit or anything like that because it just doesn't seem to work. So we're here at 0 meters. We're stopping the ship. We're sucking gas. I shall be back when something happens. 15 minutes later, the rats have arrived, so we're just going to say goodbye. Make our excuses and leave, as they like to say. And the venture's not full, so in theory I could log ThinTrash off in here and maybe wait till a new site spawns tomorrow or later on. Fill him up before I go, but I've got business back in low sec, so we're going to just head off. Do remember not to go back to the sites you've already gone and sucked gas on, because the rats will still be there and they'll be waiting for you. Of course, if you can get maybe a drake or something up here, you could take out those rats and just carry on sucking gas to your heart's content. So back out in low sec and feeling a little bit more comfortable. I'm actually checking, yeah, the price on the Eve Uni site was a little bit optimistic. No, sorry, not the Eve Uni site, that gas price site. But doesn't matter. You can see because we've changed region by jumping one, we've got 14.2 million's worth of gas out of there. Because we changed regions, the market screen then lost all of the sell orders. Once we're back in Sing Liaison, which is where beautiful Doe Dixie is, of course, we will get the local market prices. It can be weird. It's like when you're in Sail-In, you're not in Sing Liaison, so you can't get Doe Dixie prices from in there. You have to pop out. It is something to bear in mind if you're just looking at prices of stuff on the fly. Where are you? So what prices are actually contributing to that regional price that you're looking at. Overall, that's about 23 million. But a bit of a mishmash. Called in a friend to help out on a quiet day on the hacking. Come and get some gas. We found out that on the Vast site, the rats turned up in 20 minutes. On the Bountiful site, the rats turned up in 15 minutes. Whether that's linked to the site type or not, I don't know. But anyway, my friends, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Leave us a like if you have. Any comments and feedback, as you know, are always welcome. Thank you so much to those of you that drop me game mails and say hi in local and all that. Your appreciation is very, very appreciated, I can assure you. But for now, my friends, as we head back out into high sec, through this low sec that you've probably seen in a few videos by now, it's where I come and hunt clones quite a lot. The 0.2s around here are quite fruitful. There are some fights to be had too, and it's always fun. But anyway, guys, take care of yourselves, fly brave, remember even is believing, and goodbye.